Explained by the Billy Meier contacts. Mysteries, myths, legends, conspiracy theories, historical inaccuracies, and more. Compiled by David Chance, revised October 18, 2023.
Aristotle. Contact Report 317.
Then another question. Were there early connections between Aristotle, Apollo, Zeus, and congregation, and the ancient Lyrians and vegans?
No.
Contact Report 324.
Aristotle, Diogenes, and Socrates. Were there any contacts between them and aliens? I am referring especially to the Lyrians, vegans, and Pleiaren.
There is nothing in our records that would indicate any contact between any of the humans you mentioned.
So that means there was no contact.
That is of correctness.
Contact Report 721.
Apart from the roaring nonsense, which many philosophers of all times have brought and some of them still bring today, it must be conceded to them that diverse teachings concerning ethics, ethos, and morality were the focus of philosophical considerations, and thus brought Earth humans a teaching of the greatest and most special value. The ancient philosophers did not devise this valuable teaching themselves, so Aristotle did not either, but they took it over from a Pleiaren itinerant teacher, from a wise man who on the one hand had to conceal his origin, like many others, because the origin of certain Earth foreigners was not allowed to be recognized. But on the other hand, he had special knowledge and also mastered the art of argument, of extensive verbal explanations, of explaining and proving, and in this way he spread the traditional teachings of ethics and morality as they were originally worked out and taught by Nocedemian. In this respect, only a few can be mentioned, whereby Socrates, Plato, Thucydides, Pythagoras, Anaxagoras, Parmenides, Heraclitus, and George of Leontinol should perhaps also be mentioned, although I do not know exactly which of these philosophers really dealt in depth with the teaching of ethos, ethics, and morals, as was the case with Aristotle. Then I want to go on and say that so ethics moved to the center of philosophical thought, but basically the name ethics and the philosophical discipline that came out of it basically leads back to the ancient Pleiaren itinerant teacher, Fluid Jason, as I know from the memory bank, though then the doctrine was openly taught and spread by the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle. Thus, he founded the scientific study of ethos on Earth, placing the habits, customs, and mores at the forefront of the actions and behavior of the human beings of Earth. According to his teachings, which he had taken over from the wise wandering teacher Fluid Jason, he came to the conclusion that human beings could and should be able to reflect rationally and theoretically, and that this also meant the practice of observing and perceiving real reality and its truth, in order to subsequently promote reflection and consideration, and then to connect the whole thing with something specific. In doing so, his idea was founded in the action, behavior, and realization of good, positive, and valuable manners of the human being, namely as a single individual in relation to himself, as well as individuals with each other as a family, and as a group, and people among themselves. And it was from this viewpoint that Aristotle founded ethics and with it a philosophical discipline, from which ultimately emerged the comprehensive field of the teaching of human action, conduct, and activity. And this doctrine became, from the ground up, the object of philosophical means with regard to the guidance of a normative or authoritative and guiding judgment, as well as the practical implementation and realization of the knowledge thus gained with regard to the ethical, moral, humane, and righteous behavior to be applied by the human beings of Earth.
Ark of the Covenant. Contact Report 256.
The Ark of the Covenant has evidently disappeared. Can you in that context tell me what happened to it?
650b. C. The Ark of the Covenant was brought to the island on the Nile, Elephantine, where it was hidden in the Temple of Judah for about 250 years. before it was taken away again after the Egyptians conquered the island, and was once more hidden on an island called Kamikirkos the Fart. Kirkos, and namely for about another 800 years. Approx 400 years A.D. That is, after Emmanuel's birth, the Ark of the Covenant was stored in a chapel in today's Axum in Ethiopia, which was during that time called Saba, where it has been guarded by special guards ever since. Today's state of it is unknown to me.
Virgil Armstrong. Contact Report 244.
Do you know the names Virgil Armstrong, aka UFO Pope, as well as Douglas Pugh and James J. Hurtak?
The names are known to me. Why do you ask? We have talked about Armstrong before.
Lunatics and fantasists who mess up ufology?
I couldn't say it any better.